Hey folks, and welcome to episode 41 of my making podcast. I'm so glad you're all here. It's been a while. I haven't filmed a podcast in over a month. And that is due to the fact that I have been focusing on the adventure that is Rhinebeck for that time. I think I've put up 3 videos kind of before, during, and after the fact. And this wonderful adventure that I did get to go on. And so, yeah, it's been a while. So I feel like I have a bajillion projects to kind of update you on. I think it's fun. Thank you so much for your incredible, kind responses and feedback and support for the podcast as of late. I feel so loved by the community, and I want to give all that love back. I feel very privileged to still be able to do this. I'm wondering, is it my 2nd birthday coming up, like of the podcast, or am I just going crazy? I'll have to check, but I feel like this is my 2nd. Like I'm coming up to a 2nd full year of doing this. Whatever the fact, I'm just very grateful for the positivity, the humanity, the creativity, and the inspiration that is this community. My heart goes out to all my American friends who have been struggling with anxiety and just fear for the future in those last recent days. It's it's a difficult time to be alive. What can I say? Just the general fact of humanity and the world. My heart just goes out for everyone who's dealing with whatever personal or just societal things are weighing on you. I'm very grateful for my friends, those fiber friends online, and those in my everyday life. Is just what I wanted to say. Without getting too sappy, I feel like there's a tradition now coming up that there is one point in a lot of the videos that I've put up recently where I'm like this close to tears. What can I say? I'm very, very in tune, very in touch with my feelings, and a very sensitive person. But yeah, that's just how it goes. I'll go into my bajillion projects now. I have quite a few finished objects. I'm actually wearing one. I'm going into as much detail as I can remember. I've written down some kind of loose notes for today. Okay, so starting with what I'm wearing. This is the Doppio sweater by Seunghee Hong of Seunghee Knits on Instagram. And I've actually finished this, I think, in September. This is, like I said, how long I have not been podcasting. I did finish this right around the time when we had a week off work, my partner and I was kind of obsessively knitting on this. I felt like I didn't really have the bandwidth around that time to tackle some more intricate or difficult knits, and so knitting on something that was this big of a gauge and that was very colorful and happy, but also just stockinette in the round was just perfect. I might have overdone it sometimes because I think I did knit 1 sleeve in a day. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it was worth it, and I took some breaks during and then after, and just remembered to stretch my hands and wrists a lot. As far as I remember, I made size 3, which is giving me a positive ease that isn't too big. I was between sizes, which I often am, with my bust circumference of around 99 centimeters. Every time I say this, I'm like, and that is X amount of inches, and I forget. So I will have all these information, like my height and my bust circumference and all of that. I'll have at the I think it's like one of the last points in my description box. Most of the time I try to always put it there, kind of for reference, like reference point. I'm consider myself a mid-size, pretty straight to mid-size person. I usually wear between like a medium to large in most of my clothes, and I usually make between a size 3 or a size 5, something in between there for knitting patterns. But obviously not all knitting pattern designers use the same kind of metrics, so that's not very helpful to just always state what size you made. I think having a bit more of a reference point to kind of how a project sits on my personal body and what kind of gauge I get from it is a bit more helpful to see. If you see a picture and you like what you see and you want to kind of try and also knit that for your own body, I think having that kind of reference point is a lot more helpful than just the size. So I mean, I don't have extensive notes on how much gauge I have. I would probably, or yeah, I would think that it's between 5 to 10 centimeters, which, like I said, isn't a ton. I usually like to go for about a 15 to 20 centimeter positive ease a lot of the time. So this is more of a bit of a smaller ease project for me. I used Explore Knits and Fibers cashmere sock yarn. I actually have 2 of these left, and I did only use 2 for this project, so I will be putting up the extra 2 skeins in my D-stash if you're interested. This is actually something I bought of another D-stash, so I'm selling it for the same price again. This is the Extra Sprinkles Cashmere Caverns sock, and this is by Explore Knits and Fibers. And I got it from my friend Kiliana's D-stash, but like I said, I only needed to use about 2 of them. I have a tiny bit left. I'll put that in my kind of sweet shop blanket or my scrappy blanket. But if you're planning on making something similar, like a lento or a doppio, something with a bigger gauge, and you're, I think up to a size 4 should be fine, you could do that with this. So I'll have my D-stash linked. You can check it out if you're interested. I know this was a very, very popular color when it first launched, and then ever since. I know about them as a brand going back over a year and a half, I think. I've learned, or maybe even 2 years, I've learned from them through my friend Chelsea, and she has made an Extra Sprinkles sweater before, so I've ever since admired this colorway, and because of the sweater she made at the time. But yeah, this was from the, I think, ice cream something collection. And yeah, this is one of my contrast colorways was this. And then the other one, I don't actually think I've got with me right now. That was the Coast to Coast Yarn Co. in the natural sock in The Usual, which was from her Fantasy Coffee House collection, which I bought quite a few things from because I really, really adored that collection. I'm now an affiliate with Erin's brand Coast to Coast, and so if you ever shop any of her hand-dyed yarn, you can do so through my link, and you can support her and I at the same time. I wasn't at the time, I don't think, so most of the yarn from Erin I have bought myself. She has sent some to kind of use for promotional aspects, but I'll get more into that whenever I share a finished object that I knit with that yarn. But this isn't sponsored or anything, but I just love the Coast to Coast yarns in general, and I used The Usual, which I previously had knit up with a trench coat, soft silk mohair from Knitting for Olive, for a, I think it must have been something like the October sweater or caramel. I think it was the caramel sweater by Petite Knit that I started. I did some adjustments. I think I did like a 2x2 neck. I'm not sure if that's like originally in the pattern. I knitted it about until here. I think I've already like split for the sleeves actually, but I really didn't like the kind of, it looked a bit dirty. Like the 2 colors, just like the trench coat and The Usual, weren't marling up or like blending together as nicely. Maybe because of the smaller gauge, or I felt like I had a bit of a smudge of brown like right on my chest. I just wasn't feeling the project. So I put it to the side for actually quite a few months. I didn't touch it again. And then I was talking to a few friends. We were kind of chatting about doing a little kind of small mini knit along to celebrate the season of rewatching Gilmore Girls. And we're thinking about doing a sweater knit. And because my friends Emily and Maya had also been planning on doing the Doppio, and actually Emily was planning on using some Gilmore Girls yarn. I think it all just came together. We're chatting about it. We kind of made up a little group. It was super fun to do. Not everyone's finished yet, so the group chat is still going. We're just sharing results, how we wear the sweaters. Eventually a few people from my community and some other friends joined, and yeah, that was our little Gilmore Girls and Doppio cow, mini cow, you could say. And that was super nice. So whenever I decided to try and put this one in the mix, I felt like it just broke up the just like coffee-ness of the whole thing, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love coffee, but just on its own, it just seemed a bit too muddy. And that's coming from someone who loves muddiness in colors. So yeah, I just think on its own, I really didn't love this as much. I knitted it up with the oat knitting for all of soft silk mohair, and this just seemed too gray, but in like all of it combined, I just love. So I am super happy with how I did combine my yarns in the end. I think it's the perfect kind of combination of kind of neon speckles that are relatively subdued, so you need to take a closer look to see them, and then just the caramel latte, the usual, which caramel latte wouldn't be my usual. My usual is a maple iced oat milk latte, or a just regular cappuccino, like Italian style, or what do I like? I like a London fog. I think I mentioned that. Or yeah, like a generally like a vanilla, half sweet oat milk iced latte. I also like, or chai. I love chai latte. Okay, so now that we've talked about all my fun drink preferences, let me get into modifications. I did write down that I didn't do the faux seams that the pattern suggested that you could do. It wasn't something that you had to do, but yeah, I decided not to do it. I also didn't do the crochet chain that Seunghee suggested that you could do for stability around here. So far, I haven't found it to be a problem. I've put in a little like elastic in here, so it does pull a bit more. It pulls in the neck a bit more, which I like. And other than that, I kind of feel like I did kind of use the easiest route throughout the pattern. I think it's a very great thing to have a pattern that kind of is a base pattern, and then in this case, the designer offered a few kind of modifications that you could do if you wanted to, but you didn't have to. And I chose not to, but I think there could be, yeah, it could also look very nice if you did them. So these are just my opinions on them. There's another thing that I wanted to mention. I did do some of the body decreases. I think I've just followed to pattern. I don't usually tend to go for what exactly is stated in the pattern concerning lengths. I just try it on every once in a while, and then I'll see how I like it. It is, you can't really see, because I mean, I'm trying to sit up a bit higher so you can see more of what I'm actually wearing, but you can't see where it ends. Maybe I'll be able to see in my next video actually. But yeah, it's a somewhat cropped fit. It's a somewhat more fitted fit. I quite like it with just jeans or more flowy pants as well. And then the last thing I really wanted to mention is, so I'm 50-50 on this. It is super helpful for when I'm at work that the sleeve length is like this. It's not like a 3/4 length or like, it's not bracelet, it's actually shorter than bracelet, especially if I'm like moving around. I might at some point go in, pick up my stitches, knit about 5 centimeter longer actually. But yeah, I'm 50-50 on it because it's actually very kind of, how would you say that? Like it's somewhat practical at work because I am walking around, moving a lot, like pulling yarn out of the shelves, putting yarn into shelves. Like I am talking to people, so I can get quite warm even in my knits, even in the cold like season. So I do sometimes like pull it up anyway, so I have my arms free. But since this is such a warm sweater, it's also kind of, if I'm in my coat and my sleeves are just this length, it does defeat the purpose a bit, because if I'm like getting very cold, I kind of like to pull them up and like snuggle into my sweater quite a bit, and I don't want to pull it too much, and they're just on the shorter side. Like I said, I don't mind. I haven't made up my mind about it yet. Sometimes I wish they were a bit longer, and then sometimes I'm just like, I don't mind. So if I find my leftover yarn, obviously I have some of all of them left, but then again I put them into my blankets, and I'm also making a scrappy advent for one of my best friends again, so they might or might not end up in that as well, and I need about 12 to 15 grams for that. So yeah, I'll just have to see how much I do have left, and it's more of like an afterthought, like if I ever find myself not wanting to work on anything else, which honestly I always want to work on everything else. We'll see. But let us get to the next project that I finished, and this has been heavily featured in all of my recent episodes because it's my Rhinebeck sweater. It's the Framed by Andrea Maury. This is a almost all over colorwork sweater. This has these beautiful quilt motifs. I'm pretty sure I made size 4. Please check my Ravelry projects if you really want to kind of know more about these things. I'm very much into the data and I like to kind of collect it, but whenever I sit down to film, those things seem to slip my mind. But I'm personally not someone who's very much into the stating all the numbers like in a podcast person. Like I don't need that from podcasts that I really like to watch, because it's just numbers, you know. I won't be able to remember them if it comes to the point of me wanting to remake or kind of get inspired by someone else's projects. I will always just try and get to their Ravelry project when it's like at the time. So I hope that makes sense. It's just the way I run my podcast. But yeah, this has a lot of positive ease in this area. So I think 20 centimeters plus, but it's very cropped. If I were to remake this, I'll probably add 1/2 repeat. I think that would be best. It's still wearable. I wore it all throughout the Saturday of the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, so obviously it was fine. Okay, let's get into the yarn. So in my opinion, that is, apart from the pattern obviously being stunning in and of itself, the yarn is what really made this super special for me. The kind of contrast color that's the frame kind of is the Cory Worsted by La Bien Amie, and it's in the colorway Amège. And the contrast color in the colorwork part is my handspun, the Shanico Marlene Knits colorway from the Podcaster collection by Yarn Jam. I was able to meet Trisha of Yarn Jam at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, and that was just so nice. She was also wearing her handspun framed by Andrea Maury, and I got to meet up with Andrea and show her my version of this sweater. And I was also able to stand in a sea of people who had knit this sweater, so that was just a very, very special day. And I totally get why people make the Rhinebeck sweater or make the Andrea Maury Rhinebeck sweater, because it's just a very nice and communal feeling, and you don't get to experience that like day to day. The feeling of having made something by hand and about like 200 to 300 other people having made the exact same pattern, but it looks different in like 299 ways, you know. Not one of the frames looked exactly the same. Like people used different yarns, they had different gauges, like all of these things. It was just very nice. My friend Megan also made this, and so we were able to take a few pictures. I met a few people who had been able to knit the same pattern, who had hand spun, had used hand spun for it, or who had used the farmer's daughter fiber and the spin cycle for it. So it was just a very nice experience. The main color that I used for this was the Sandesgarn Double Sunday in Almond. I still had this in stash. It is what I use for my my sweet shop blanket and my Stella quilt cushions. So I did buy about, I don't know, like 20 skeins of that at one point or over time. And so I just used that, since the yarn that I bought at first was too gray for my taste. All of this to say is that my framed is more of a DK weight framed, which was quite nice considering that we had very nice weather the entire Rhinebeck weekend, and it was about 21 degrees on Saturday, as far as I remember. And this was still, like, being a stranded colorwork DK sweater. It was warm enough as it is. It didn't need to be a worsted weight colorwork sweater. So lastly, to the point of modifications, I wanted to mention that I kind of lengthened all of the cuffs on my framed, and because I did have about 16 grams or so left in the end when I had finished the entirety of the sweater, I did pull a stunt, and I need to call it that because it took so many hours, but in the end I think it was worth it. I picked up the stitches like right before my body ribbing. I had started the sweater obviously bottom up, is what it was written as in the pattern. So I did the tubular cast on, which I can do, it's no problem, but I'm not the biggest fan of the look of that. I very much prefer the Italian bind off to it because it does just cinch in a bit more. So I picked up the stitches, I ripped back. That in and of itself took a few hours, to be honest. It wasn't easy to kind of rip out the yarn again because I had blocked the entirety of, because I had blocked the sweater twice already. So it was already kind of rameny and it was kind of sticking to itself, the corridel. But I managed in the end, and I managed to save enough of the yarn to kind of lengthen it by about 1 centimeter and then do the Italian bind off again. And I just prefer that. Kind of judging from how long it took and how big the impact was it worth it in the end? For me, it was, because I like the fit a bit more. I was proud that I kind of overcame my feeling of it'll be fine, but then maybe not really loving it as much as I could have. And I also didn't want to have any yarn left. Like, what should I do with like 16 grams? Like, I didn't know what I would do with like 16 grams of this very special yarn, so I'd rather put in another 10 or 12 grams of it into the sweater. Obviously I had to throw out a bit of it because it was just too tangly and I couldn't open it back up again, but I try and use as much as I could to kind of lengthen the body ribbing, and that's what I think made up for a more so comfortable fit and a more balanced look, because I was able to lengthen the sleeve cuffs and then knit the body ribbing to the same length. And yeah, I just really like that, and I'm proud that I did the extra work to be really, really happy with this sweater. It'll be one of the most special sweaters in my collection for sure. But now that Rhinebeck has passed, I have worn it a bit more casually to work and it just in my day-to-day life. I didn't want to wear it before Rhinebeck, so I didn't. But yeah, I can see the appeal of the Andrea Marie Rhinebeck sweater, and I might do one again in the future, but I also might just kind of decide on what I really want to make and then just make that sweater a cardigan instead. Moving on to my next couple finished objects. As you may know, we're just coming out of Socktober. Now it's November already, but between the end of September and the end of October, I finished 3 pairs of socks. So you could say Socktober indeed. I managed to knit 6 single socks, 3 pairs of socks, and I want to get into a bit more detail with them. So my first pair of socks, like I said, I started in September. Socks for me, if it's an easy enough sock pattern, can be very great, like moving around, knitting on my lunch break, knitting like in the car, knitting on the go, knitting while walking, knitting while waiting somewhere, projects. So sometimes I get quite a bit on them done, and if I'm working on one, especially because I'm using some of my very special hand dyed in these, they just tend to move quite quickly. Let's start with this first one, which is the Hermione's Everyday Sock. I have knit these socks before, and this is my second time making this pattern. I usually don't follow the whatever sock pattern I'm using exactly for the heels. I usually just do the exact same heel that I've learned from the Crazy Sock Ladies vanilla sock pattern. That's just whatever I remember like most vividly, or what's easiest for me to remember, so I just use that. The colorway of the yarn is the Love 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 colorway by Coast to Coast Yarn Co. So the yarn is the Love 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 colorway by Coast to Coast Yarn. This was a casual knit along with 2 of my friends. We all had some sort of like speckled kind of unicorn fun yarn, and we all made the Hermione's Everyday Socks. And this was number 8 of my goal to finish 9 socks from stash. Moving on to number 9 is a 3x1 sock, which I kind of came up with by myself. It's not that difficult. But you can see that it looks more of like a stockinette sock, but whenever you do kind of pull it, or it's sitting on my foot, it does have quite a nice look to it. It does also look quite nice on the inside, actually. But yeah, this was knit up in the Hedgehog fiber Lone Wolf. So this was my number 9 of my 9 socks for this year. I love the colorway. It is outstandingly beautiful to me. We did actually sell out of this colorway really quickly at the shop, but we're getting a restock soon, so I'm glad or happy for everyone who wanted to use this. I really like the squishiness of this yarn. It's a pretty plump sock yarn, so more of like a 4-ply. I'm not sure if it's like 80-20. I haven't made like a scientific or like a study about it, like which kind of sock yarn is my favorite, but so far I can tell that a more plumper sock yarn in comparison to like a high twist 425 meter. I like the 400 one, like the one that's actually fingering, not light fingering. I quite like them, and I might like them a bit better than the thinner ones. And so yeah, I continued the 3x1 on the top of the foot, and on the bottom I just did stockinette. It's just something that I do. I didn't really think about this. Currently, with all of these socks, I'm using 60 stitches for my leg and 2.5mm needle. And since this is already my 9th sock, I have extended my goal of knitting 9 socks from stash to finish 12 pairs of socks for this year. I just didn't want to make too big of a goal at the beginning of the year, honestly, because in the end, who knows if I would be able to finish it, honestly. But now that I've reached my first goal, I can kind of extend it. And then my 10th sock for this year really was the just a vanilla sock. I knit these on the Flight 2 the US to my Rhinebeck adventures, and then the second one, so I knit one just on the flight there, and then the other one I knit during my entire weekend. So this is what they look like. The yarn was gifted to me by Tiny Human Knits, so a little disclaimer here. Laura sent them to me. I wasn't asked to talk about them or anything, but obviously I wanted to mention this is maybe one of my favorite sock colorways I've ever knit with, and I really wanted to knit with self-striping yarn this year. That was on my kind of a list of goals. So another goal checked and marked off my list. I'm very happy with them. It also showed how long it actually takes me to knit an entire sock. Like I said, I did it in an entire international travel day. Just working on this took about 8 hours, and then knitting this one took the entirety of the weekend and the flight back. So that just goes to show how much you can get done if you focus on something, but then also how much you can get done if you have so many other things to kind of focus on and or think about or do or experience. Or obviously I wanted to try and get some sleep on the way back in the air on the airplane, so I didn't get as much work done, but in the end I got them finished. They were a very quick sock project. I usually don't knit a pair of socks in a weekend, but like I said, their circumstances just were pretty special, and these are going to be my Christmas socks. I love them so much. I used the contrast color for my heel and my toes, and try to kind of start with the same yarn or the same color at the same time. I just started with the vanilla here, and then I knit, I think I did 2 repeats. So from vanilla to the kind of caramel color again. So I did 2 repeats for the leg, and then 2 full repeats for the foot as well. That just happened to work out. It must be around 60 rows, because that's what I usually do for both of my heel and my foot. Sometimes I do about 20 rows more here for the cuff, but since I didn't do a contrast for the cuff, it just worked out that way. So yeah, my Christmas socks, I'm so happy with them. It just felt like a very productive Socktober, and yeah, I'm very happy with them. Another project I started at my on my Rhinebeck weekend were these penny gloves. They are a modification. The penny glove project or pattern is actually from Petite Knit, and I think it uses about a DK gauge. I made them in a fingering gauge with a yarn that my friend Lydia got for me on one of her travels to Scotland. So this is the Kinross 4-ply, and yes, it does feel heavenly after blocking. I blocked them, and this must have been one of my most, how would you say, exciting blocking experiences ever. Obviously they don't feel like cashmere, but they feel like a very soft lamb's wool. I made them a bit longer than the pattern stated. I used some notes that I got sent by a friend on how to kind of adjust them to fingering weight. I have the amount of stitches I cast on in my Ravelry project, but you can, if you follow her pattern, the Petite Knit penny glove pattern, you can also kind of just calculate how many stitches you would need. So I would say that I've got quite small and narrow wrists. Like my hands in general are very yeah, I would say small kind of, or narrow. So I really wanted them to fit, because I've made some mittens before, some fingerless mittens, and they were just too big. I've actually just given them a wash, and my partner will receive them for his birthday. He has actually worn them before, and they fit him really well. And because they took some time to make, they will be part of his selection of birthday presents. I think he will be very happy to receive them, and since they fit him so much better than they do me, I just wanted to make myself some as well. I kind of followed the notes that my friend made for this pattern, like the fingerless mitts, like the penny gloves kind of fingering edition, the notes that she came up with. And yeah, I'm very happy with the fit. They're, like I said, very tight fitting. I used the Kinross 4-ply in the colorway Otter. And I don't really know what else to say about it. I haven't written down any other notes. I mean, I could say I used 46 stitches to cast on, and then again, as far as I know, if you just use the petite knit penny glove pattern, you should be fine with kind of adjusting that to the gauge that you have. It's not that deep. Like if you know a bit of knitting math, you will be able to do them. Still, I'm grateful for the person who sent me the notes on this, and so I was just able to follow that really closely and not have to think about it too much. I cast these on my Rhinebeck travels as well, and I was knitting on just like the arm bit for a while. I feel like they could be really great gift knits in the future as well. I'm currently, or have been for the last couple of weeks, knitting quite a bit on a gift knits. So right now I'm not planning on any more at the time, but yeah, I could see myself making some for my mom, for example. But yeah, penny gloves by Petite Knit, fingering weight edition. I love them. I can't wait to wear them. Now it's been getting really cold, so it'll be nice to have something to keep my hands warm. My last finished object, and yeah, I know it's been a lot. It's actually my last two finished objects are another gift knit. Both of them actually are gift knits. And I can't say for whom this is for. I will be able to give it to my friend who I knit this for next month, I want to say. And yeah, I'm just so happy that I am finally able to share. This is the Maxine Hot Water Bottle mini edition. I used the Coast to Coast Yarn Co. yarn from the Patchwork collection. That was gifted to me. So disclaimer, at gifted. Erin sent these yarns to me to use them for my own Maxine hot water bottle, to have a promotional sample to use for advertising the collection. And I love my sample so much. And I decided to make a bit of a more pinky version. The friend I wanted to give this to, I think will really like this, or I hope will really like this. And I just wanted to say thank you to her. So that's why I made this for her. It's more of like a early Christmas present for her. And yeah, for some other reason that I can't really explain now, because then she would know that I'm talking about her. And she might even know now. I just don't want to say it. If she has an idea that this could be for her, oh well. It's very difficult to keep secrets, especially if you have friends who also watch your podcast and are possibly knitters as well. I'm giving too much away already. I might have to ask her not to watch this video. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm really looking forward to give this to her because I'm very grateful for her. And I wanted to make something for her. I actually bought a fitting pink mini hot water bottle to go with this. I just bought it online. I found it there, and yeah, so I made this. This is again the fingering. I think the sock weight from Coast to Coast held double to get gauge, and it worked out well. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to gift this. Like I said, I hope she doesn't realize it's for her, or I might have to just ask her to stay off this video up until we'll get to see each other in a few weeks, which I'm very much looking forward to. And yeah, looking forward to give this to her. The last project that I have just finished yesterday is a watch cap hat by Pearl Soho. I used this pattern as a general recipe, but I did make the toddler size. And if you can tell, this is not the toddler size. It fits me very comfortably. I actually very much love the look of this. I might have to make it for myself. It is incredibly comfortable, but it's not for me. It's for my godmother. Let's just call her my aunt. She's been a very important person in my life, or all of my life, and she's received a Sophie scarf, I think about 2 Christmases ago, and she was very, very glad to receive it. She crochets a bit, like she's a teacher, and she has crocheted little flowers for the kids in her class before, but she doesn't knit. And so, but she's very appreciative of it. Like, she's a very knit-worthy person. I'm just not able to make sweaters for all of my, like all of my family. Obviously, I'll get to my work in progress, my partner's sweater in a bit, but eventually I could see myself also knitting her a sweater. It just might take a few years until I get there. But it was her birthday in September. We have a lot of family birthdays in September, and because I really wanted her to be able to choose like color, fit, style of the hat, I gave her a gift card. I written out or like printed out, like designed and printed a gift card for her, which kind of took her through the whole experience, like how this is going to go. Like, you pick out. I made like a little folder of patterns that I can make, like that I have made in the past, hat patterns that I like the look of. And then I brought some yarn to the birthday, and I offered her to either pick a yarn from my stash. I have a few just like hand-dyed skeins or commercially dyed skeins, even some different like compositions of yarns, and I just let her choose whatever she liked the most. She then actually showed me one of her most favorite kind of machine knit hat that she always wears when she's going out on a walk with her dog. And I kind of took a million pictures of that. I wanted to make sure that I had all the measurements that she really wanted. She wants, or she has very big curls. Like, she has a lot of curls, big hair, and she wanted something that would be wide enough so it doesn't smush down her hair, especially if she wears the hat when it's really cold outside to go to school, for example. She wouldn't want to feel like everything's very smushed down underneath. So I decided in the end, we didn't go with stash yarn. She wanted something green or blue, and I went with this marine or navy color from Snefnog. This is a yarn by Camarose. It's a organic cotton, alpaca, and merino yarn. It's a blown yarn. I love it. I'm also knitting with it for another project right now, but it does state that it's supposed to be knit between like a 4 to 6 millimeter needle. I've seen it worked up on a 7 millimeter needle as well. We do sell it quite a lot at the yarn shop, so I did buy 2 skeins for it at my at the yarn shop that I work at, after confirming with her that she would like this color. It's so drapey, you can see it won't stay up. I've actually thought about adding a tassel, like a pom-pom here as well, because her like the original hat that this was modeled after kind of has a pom-pom. So I will have to think about it. I will kind of offer her, because I have enough left. I have about 10 grams left, so I used 90 grams for this hat. It is quite long. It's about 25 centimeters till I reach the decreases. The watch cap hat is actually a free pattern. I've heard Inga from Knitting Traditions talk about this quite a lot, so that's how I know of it. I've also collaborated with Pearl Soho once before. I actually still have the yarn in stash. I want to knit it up eventually, but I have sewed pants with their linen fabric before, and I have purchased some yarns from them and knitted with that before as well. So I really like them as a brand, and that they have some very nicely looking and free patterns on their page as well. So I think they're a great resource. But yeah, my modifications for this hat were that I used a 3.75 millimeter needle, which I didn't want to go any smaller to not kind of strangle the life and the softness out of this yarn. The pattern suggested using a 3.25 millimeter needle for a yarn with a similar length or weight. So the yardage of the yarn that they use, the Sounghee yak that I actually have in stash from them, but I want to make a turtleneck sweater with, that has the very close to similar, or like a similar yardage and thickness of the Sneefnoek. So I'm not sure how they did it, but I think the yak just has a different, it's spun differently. Like I said, this is a blown yarn. This is very kind of voluminous. It can be knit up until like a 7 millimeter needles, like I said. Obviously a much bigger gauge than, I haven't actually checked my gauge, like how close to gauge I am. I will do so and put in my Ravelry. So I just tried my luck with this, and eventually in the beginning I just went down one size to what I thought would be the right size for her. So I cast on 140 stitches. I was actually having like a coffee date with one of my friends here, and I was knitting on it, and then eventually I had a few rows done. I put it over my head and just like fell over my glasses, and kind of like it was just too big, I realized. So I ripped it back out, and I did the smallest size that they have in the pattern, which is the toddler size. It's 120 stitches, and like I said, on a 2.75 millimeter needle, so about 0.5 millimeter bigger than the pattern stated. Obviously this was the perfect recipe for me to make a hat that is comfortable to sit on her curls, on her hair, and that is very squishy still. So I kind of want to have one for myself now. I think it is wonderful. I'm thinking about making another one of this pattern for my brother-in-law. My partner's brother is turning 30 in December, and he loves the snow. We always go out in the snow together at their parents' house. We've had some snowy days the last couple of years, so that's been really nice, and he would need a very cozy hat for that. So I have some yarn in stash from my my travels to the US the year prior to this year, to Seattle, when I went to grab some Line Brand yarn. I think that would be easily, like that would be easy to care for. He's not the like rustic real wool yarn kind of guy, so I think I'll choose that, and that will be my next kind of gift knitting hat. And so eventually and slowly I'll get through our entire families, and everyone will get some sort of knitted gift over probably over a decade, because like I can only do so many gifts every year, and this was my last finished object. Are you still here? Have you fallen asleep already? I hope you're just enjoying your knitting time. You're getting some peace and relaxation out of this, and yeah, I'm very much enjoying being back and podcasting again. So let's get into my works in progress. I actually have my biggest work in progress in this Mabel bag that I got at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. I love this caddy, and it hosts my partner's Christmas sweater at the moment. There are so many needles in this, so let me try and somehow securely get this out of the caddy. I lost yarn chicken, and I lost bad. I have this much left, and I need to do one cuff on a sleeve, and this is not enough. So technically I would have been able to just rip out the neckband and not do a double folded neckband, and I would have been fine with the 500 grams cone that I have left. I did a gauge swatch with it, and I did a mini, like the mini crop puff sweater as like a promise keeper to my partner. And had I not done these two things and then sewed a project bag with the gauge swatch, so I couldn't kind of retrieve the yarn from it, I would have been fine. I would not have lost yarn chicken. So for the next time that I plan on doing a sweater for him holding a merino woolly knit cone double, it should be fine, technically. But in the end it wasn't. But going back to the start, I have not talked about this sweater. I have cast it on and knitted all of this since the last episode. And let me tell you, I adore it. I do have to preface this by saying the yarn was gifted to me a year ago from Woolly Knit. This was an unpaid collaboration with them. They sent me some yarn so I could tell you all about it. I knit with some of that yarn at the time. And I have ordered and paid for with my own money from them before, and I like that as well. So that was the reason why I said yes to that collaboration. But I had planned on knitting him this Christmas sweater with this green yarn ever since. This is called Mostaza Green, and yeah, like I said, used almost all of it to knit this entire thing. I held it double. I'm making size 4 of the Stick Season sweater by Rebecca Clow, who's the Crea Bear. I have been part of the testing group for this sweater like almost a year ago. I think it's like a year and 1 month ago now. And that means we'll be able to match like on Christmas with my kind of rusty red version and his green version, though I really want to wear this one as well. Like I might just steal it from him just to wear it once. I just love the feel of the merino. Like obviously I want to state that this has been gifted to me, but I'm not paid to say any of this. The advertisement for Woolly Knit at the time was to let people know that they had minimized shipping costs for folks around the EU ever since Brexit that had gone up and all of that. So that was part of the collaboration. They just gave me some yarn. I don't receive any money to speak about it, but I always want to be clear if I'm not paying for something. Same as with my own version of the sweater, I'm using a 4.5mm needle for the body and a 4mm for the ribbing, because Rebecca has quite a bit of a looser gauge. Like she's a much looser knitter, so she needs to go down with her needle size. And usually if she knits on a 3.5, I'm going to use a 4.5. It has been the case for all of the patterns that I have made from her in the past. And yeah, you may ask, why are you being like, why do you seem so happy if you're losing yarn chicken? Well, let me tell you. What I did is that I kind of finished the body to fit my partner's length. He wants these sweaters to be quite long. Actually, the first sweater that I ever knit him, I had to, after about a year, I ripped back out. I added about 5 centimeters of length, and then I redid the ribbing for him, just because I miscalculated in the process of making it. So I really wanted to make sure that this is long enough for him. Obviously, I wear very cropped sweaters a lot of the time, and my partner just doesn't. So I really wanted this to fit him well. I did put the body on hold though. So I just wanted to make sure, and I have a little nugget of yarn left, so I will have enough, definitely enough, to do a bind off. Probably going to rearrange the 2x2 ribbing to a 1x1 and do a sewn bind off for this. But I just kept it on hold because I've had to open up bind offs too much in the past to kind of make the fit better or the length or whatever. So after doing that, I started the first sleeve. I just went with the decreases that she suggested. I think I'm doing size 4 for him for a relatively fitted fit. I think it'll only have about 10 centimeters of positive ease. This is a trick that I like to use. Whenever I knit one sleeve, I put in little stitch markers. I think it looks so funny. He has to keep them in there. Like whenever he tries it on for the next time, it'll look like a cowboy jacket with the tassels. I put in a stitch marker whenever I do a decrease. I think I picked up 2 more stitches to avoid any holes in the armhole area. So I decrease on the first row, but then I just went on with the rhythm of decreases. And I put in a stitch marker for every decrease. And then whenever I move on to knit the second sleeve, I just pick the stitch marker from the other sleeve whenever I do the next one. So I just pick it from here and I put it on there whenever I do the decrease. And that's how I achieve 2 sleeves that look the exact same, which I also have a few sweaters in my collection that have sleeve that, I mean, you can't tell, you can't see it with your eyes, but I know that there are some mistakes in there. So that's just how I try to keep it very concise and very tidy. And then I knit the cuff. So I think this is whatever I've got left after knitting this cuff. I haven't done any of the cast offs or bind offs just because I wanted to wait till more yarn arrived. And this is why I'm being so happy about this, because today's the day when my parcel from the UK should be arriving, because one of you lovely folks has contacted me. I put out a story on my Instagram, really hoping for the community to come through on this one, asking if anyone had about 50 grams left of this exact yarn, this is exact lot. After emailing Woolly Knit, obviously, asking them if they had some left, they didn't. So I was toying with the idea of getting a bit more of this yarn, but from another lot. Then I went to Ravelry and checked if anyone had this specific lot in stash. Someone actually did, so I was considering texting, like sending them a message. But before I did any of that, like go more into asking people that don't know me, or I don't know them, I thought, let's just ask the community. Like, we have a fantastic community. People are so kind and wanting to help out all the time. And if anyone was asking for yarn in like a dye lot that I had, I'd be so happy to give them the yarn if I wasn't like currently using and needing it. So obviously I knew that people would be open to this, and I've seen other people kind of help out each other with that. And Poppy, I really hope you're happy to be named here. I will ask you again, I will send you a message. But let's just call her a kind viewer from the UK. Actually came through and she had some left in stash, and it's currently the parcel from the UK is sitting at my post office. So I will need to pick it up today, or actually my very kind neighbor is picking up for me because she had to go to the post office anyway, and we have a good relationship. So that's what you get for having kind neighbors and kind viewers. And yeah, I just felt very, very grateful for her to offer to send it to me. I obviously offered to pay for the yarn, to pay for the shipping, but she said, no, you make podcasts that I enjoy watching. You put them out online for free for me to watch almost every week or every other week. And she just wanted to say thanks for the podcast. So thank you again. That was very kind. I'm so looking forward to finishing this sweater. I can't wait to see my partner in it. I love knitting for him. I have the next 2 sweaters already planned out for, and already have the yarn, and he just deserves all of this and so much more. So yeah, knitting for him is one of my favorite things. I just don't do it more than once a year because I love knitting for myself even just a bit more. Or I just love to make myself clothes as well. So he gets his annual sweater. I think it'll be, obviously I just have to do all the finishing steps. So it'll be done by his birthday, which is coming up in 2 weeks. Whenever he has tried this on already, he just looked so dashing in it. It's just a great color on him. I love the color, looking at it. I love him. So it's a great project. I very much love it, and I'm so thankful for the community to come through on this one and help me out with my lost game of yarn chicken. Next up, talking about a project that you have seen already, or you've heard me talk about at least, is my tessellated cardigan. I've had this on the needles for actually almost like 2 months at this point, and I haven't made significant progress on it, just because at the time my Rhinebeck sweater was more important. Whenever I came back, or even before, I started my partner sweater. I knit this in between, so this hasn't seen a lot of progress made on it, but it continues to be a work in progress, and eventually at some point I will finish it. So this is what it looks like. This is the Camaros Ökologisk Verdeigsold, I think it's how you pronounce it, and the Farmer's Daughter Odang, and the Earth Yarn Spiral Grain Light Worsted. The colors I will have linked in my Ravelry project. I can't remember all of them right now. But yeah, it is a very nice project. Like I said, eventually I'll finish it, but it's more of like a, I'm sitting on the couch able to manage my yarn kind of knit, and not so much a I'm on the go and knitting on this project. So I didn't take it to Rhinebeck with me, and like I said, haven't made any huge progress on it. But yeah, I started this for the Mosaic Mayhem Cowl by Casey of Young Folk Knits, and I'm also kind of knitting this alongside my friend Anna from Brook Willow Knits, and she is doing, if I'm not mistaken, she's doing the cardigan again, because I think she's already done the sweater before. So yeah, and she's using some hand spun. Again, I would probably never say never, but at this point in time I would probably never buy a yarn like this ever again, because now I could use my hand spun. But at the time I don't feel like I was confident enough to say, like, obviously I'm gonna spin for a project like this. But now I know that I could, and I can, and I will. And especially doing a sweater quantity of spinning, if it's just one part of a colorwork pattern, it's so much less spinning, you know. I think I used like 2 4 ounces tops for my Rhinebeck sweater. I'm currently still very slowly spinning up the 3rd one. Oh yeah, so I used 3 top braids. I ripped them in 3 parts, and then I used one of these parts to combine it to one skein, and I used 2 of these skeins, and I'm currently spinning up the 3rd to have for my stash. I explained this a bit better in my my last video, or my planning for Rhinebeck kind of thing, where I also talked a bit more about this spinning project. So if you're interested, go find my spin with me episodes. I hope they tell you a bit more about it. And if you've got any more questions, as always, you can put them down below. And yeah, so this is my tessellated cardigan, a very slow going process, but still I'm happy that I've got it on my needles, and I will knit on it a bit more eventually. My next project that I'm actually using my first Rhinebeck yarn for, I've just finished the back panel, so I don't have any yarn attached, and I can just show you very easily. This is the Lana Vest by Irene Lynn. This is on my Make 9 as well, and I'm so happy that I finally get to cast it on. I've been loving the look of this ever since I first heard about it. I've had yarn and stash for it for a while, but I was just not as intrigued anymore by the color, like a mid-gray. But whenever I found this Sawkill yarn, so whenever I found this yarn at Rhinebeck for it, it's the 3-ply worsted. It's a Sawkill farm wool and domestic merino blend, 50-50. I was just very happy, and I immediately thought that this would make a great Lana vest. So I've knit my way through the back panel, and I'm now about to pick up stitches here on these two upper parts of the thing to knit the front with. I have steam blocked up until, like about half of it, just to see if my gauge was on. I didn't gauge swatch for it because I believe that if you're doing, especially if you're doing like something that is top down and like a drop shoulder thing, you can just knit the first like 10 or so rows, check your gauge, like maybe steam it, even wet block it, and then decide if your gauge is good or if you have to change something or even rip it out. Don't listen to my recommendations if you're like unsure about any of these things. I'm using the needles that are called for in the pattern. It's been pretty easy so far to knit this pattern. I'm using a cable needle to do these cables. I've just found that to be more comfortable for me in this project. I have knit another project without a cable needle before, and that's also fine. I'm using some old needles. They're Knit Pro. I usually am a Chow girly, but I'm testing out these Lantern Moon fixed stainless steel cords to see if they will be a good addition to our shop, Strickverliebt, since the thing I love most about the Chow needles is the cords. I started out knitting with Knit Pro. My friend who taught me how to knit suggested them to me or said that she was using them, so I just copied whatever she was doing at the time. And they're fine, like the needles I'm still using every once in a while, especially for like blanket knits where the needle is just stuck in the blanket for like 2 years. I don't want to use my good needles. But I just hate the Knit Pro cords. They're just garbage. Sorry to be so blunt about this, but they just kink and they're just so hard, and then like they just feel like the plastic is getting old. Like after the first project, the plastic just doesn't feel nice anymore. And so these cords from Lantern Moon, which are compatible with the Knit Pro needle, the needles, are so much nicer. They actually state that they're kink free on the pattern, on the box as well. And so a customer told us about them at the shop, and that's when my boss and I decided that we'll give them a try to have them available for customers that come in, because there are a lot of people who use Knit Pro or Knit Pro adjacent needles, so within this system that is compatible. And obviously if you already have needles from that system, you don't want to buy a whole nother set of Chow because they are expensive as well. So I'm testing out some new cords and my old needles with this, and it's working out fine. Yeah, wanted to say all these things. I'm loving this project. I can't wait to finish it. I feel like this is, after finishing my partner's sweater, this will be my focus project for myself to get done soon. And I can't wait to share with you how it looks, how I will style it, and so on. My next work in progress, and now I know I have a ton. I didn't have any works in progress, or almost any, at one point, and then I kind of cast on all of the things. I just went for it. My next pattern is the 6 of Daisies cardigan by Lindsay Deegan. I actually can't believe I didn't mention this cardigan in my 10 cardigans I want to make video, because it's been like top of my list for a long time. But I just forget, maybe because it was already like moved up my queue so fast that I just forgot to mention it. I'm not sure. This pattern was actually kind of gifted to me by a online fiber friend of mine that had knit the 6 of Daisies sweater before. Catherine, thank you so much. She said that she really enjoyed knitting that sweater, and I love her version as much as I love my friend Anna's version. Both of their versions are like my favorite 2 versions of the sweater that are out there. And they really made me want to knit this. And so I've had this on my list for quite some time. But the one thing that really made me want to go like, okay, now we'll have to do it now, was that my boss also really wanted to knit this. And then we received some of the new Sniff Nook colors by Camarose. at the shop, and so we kind of figured let's make a cowl out of it. So we're doing the Strickverliebt Daisy's cowl at our local yarn shop. You can also participate online, like it's relatively casual. There are some prizes to win. It's just gift cards to the shop. We've had a little cast on party. Actually, only one other person joined at the time. Whenever we last did a knit along, I think it was the artist shawl by Natasha Hornby. We had like 10 people join the cowl at the shop. But this time around, it seems to be a very specific project, and it is relatively difficult to do. Like it's not difficult, but there are a lot of things to think about. It is bottom up, it is in pieces, so it'll have to be sewn together, which I haven't done before, and it's a mixture of stranded color work and intarsia knitting. Also something I have not done before in a knitting project. And I had to adjust needle size because I could tell that I would not be getting gauge on the needle that the designer used. So I'm using a 5mm needle. This is how far I've come on the day that we cast on, the three of us at the shop. It's not a lot. I barely just started the motif, but it's going well so far. Like I said, the intarsia is just something I'll have to get used to. It's not that difficult. But yeah, so I haven't made any major progress on this yet. I have decided to do a combination of intarsia and stranded after talking to Melanie about it and whatever she thought was kind of easiest to do. And I have decided not to start with the ribbing at that point. That was also something we decided together, since after having sewn all the things, so we were kind of doing the front panels, and I think then you're doing the back panel, and I think then you're kind of connecting the two here on the shoulder, and then you're doing the sleeve but flat and then sewing it all together here is kind of what I've gathered from the pattern so far. And I think that in the end, whenever I have all the panels gathered, I'll then pick up stitches and knit the ribbing on the bottom, and then I think I'll pick up for the button band. You know, I think it's just going to add to the structure, because the Snefnook is kind of a soft yarn, and it won't have any seaming on the ribbing on the bottom too. So that's something that we decided. It was very helpful to start this with two other people, sharing expertise, sharing thoughts. It was just very nice. The third person who joined us brought some alpaca like shaped chai cookies. I made some rooibos tea for us, and it was just a very cozy night at the yarn shop. So if you still want to join, check out the yarn shop page. I'm actually in charge of that. I'm head of marketing for the shop. That's funny because I'm a one-person marketing team, so I like to sarcastically call myself head of marketing. But yeah, I do the Instagram and the online content for our shop and the marketing. And so yeah, we're knitting on this right now. It'll take some time. I think we've set the end of the cowl to the end of January, so I could see myself knitting a bit slowly here and there on it, and then doing more so the majority of it actually in January, because I would love to still get my Christmas sweater done. And so far I haven't been I haven't started, and so far I haven't made any progress, obviously. I'm using the Camarose Snefnook Natur. It's the color 7141 cream, and then the regular Snefnook, so the Natur is the one that is not dyed, and the Snefnook, the regular one, is dyed, and that's the 7783 mahogany, and the mahogany is one of the newer colors, and I've got that in one of my petite knit project bags. And yeah, I will have to get some more focused knitting time in on that. But yeah, for me, color work knitting is just a bit more intense, like reading charts, especially whereas my cabled pattern has been written out like row by row. So I just felt more comfortable sitting down at night, even if I had very little brain space left, a long day of work, I just did one row, just did 3 rows, and then I just like crossed it out on my books app on my phone, and I was done. Whereas with the chart, I just haven't been feeling getting into that too much recently. With my Christmas sweater, I do have to say it might take some time to get that started, because I will have to rewrite the thing. It's bottom-up construction. I wanted to knit it top-down, but I really would like to get that done. That's with some yarn that Biche Bouche actually gave me, gifted me. So I really would love to get that done at some point. I do have one last work in progress. It's my Sweet Shop blanket. I just wanted to mention I put in another row of progress, and that means I can move my stitch marker, you know. The top most, like the uppermost row is some colors I just recently put in. Some of them are from the patchwork collection as well. This is the Love, Love, Love. This was from my advent calendar from my friend last year. And as far as I can remember, this is from a mini that I got at the Swiss Yarn Festival from a German dyer that's called Das Mondschaf. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's what I just put in, and it's growing, it's going. I'm possibly at about 60% kind of with this blanket. I'm just moving my stitch marker. This was gifted to me by my friend Julia, and it's a little Franzbrötchen, we call it. It's a kind of like a croissant style, but with cinnamon. It's kind of like a cinnamon bun, but like different, like it's a pastry kind of thing. I'm not going to try to explain it. The Germans among you will know what I mean. Franzbrötchen, very tasty, and she gifted me this little stitch marker. So I will move it up to the last row that I kind of now finished. And yeah, so far my width is just 5 kind of squares. I will eventually add another row this side, so it'll be 6. And then I want to add at least 4 rows this way. And then we'll see how I feel about it. So far, it is a lap blanket. I can comfortably wear it as a lap blanket already, but I want it to be bigger. But it doesn't have to be as big as my scrappy blanket that I haven't made a ton of progress on. I will share again whenever I've done more than like 10 centimeters of progress, I think. And let's jump into my acquisitions. I only have a few things that I wanted to share with you. I went to a local yarn festival and I bought a bit of yarn. This was the Westerwälder Wollfest. It's a very small yarny festival, about an hour and a half away from where I live. It's actually very close to where my grandma's from. And I went with all my colleagues from the yarn shop. It's our regular, it's been the second year. It's only been the second year, but it's kind of become a tradition to go there as a team. Last year I was just about to start work at the yarn shop, so it was kind of nice to get to know the people a bit more. So I got 2 skeins of sock yarn from this brand called Strickwerk 34. The owner of this brand is the person who's behind the Kassler Wollfest that has been on for the 2nd year now. I went this year. Last year I couldn't because we had kind of like a long weekend at the shop, but this year we're able to kind of split up the team, and then some went on one day and the other group went on the 2nd day. I actually went with my mom, and so it's always really nice to see Katja again. And yeah, she's the person behind the Kassler Wollfest, but then she also has a hand-dyed yarn business, and I got these 2 skeins of hand-dyed yarn there. 75 merino superwash, and then 25% nylon, 425 meter per 100 grams. And they don't have a colorway name, but I just really like the look of both of them. So like I said, I got these 2 hand-dyed yarn skeins, and then I bought some alpaca yarn. with my friend Marla. She came with me to the festival, or with us as a team. And this is from a alpaca farm, a German alpaca farm. And I have seen them at a few local yarn festivals around these last couple of years. And this was the year that I decided to shop from them. And the reason for that was this kit. My friend Marla and I both saw this kit at their booth and we're like, oh my gosh, autumnal heaven. We both love these kinds of colors. I'm going to show you a bit more up close. And this is kind of a set of, let me check the packaging real quick. These are 5 skeins of 25 grams, each 125 meters, so a total of 625 meters. And this is baby alpaca. And to go with it, we each got 3 skeins of this, again, baby alpaca. Funnily enough, this alpaca, the alpaca this was from was called Katya, and it was from 2021, the yarn. So this was what I went with. I'm going to put in the pattern that we're both planning on making with it. It's a Amy Christoffers pattern, the Lunenburg pullover. It is a pattern that we both separated from each other, decided to make, and then we talked about it. We realized we both really wanted to make it, and then we got yarn for it together. Again, these are my colors. I decided to go with like a light main color, and then some these contrast colors. I would love to have something more like a turquoise, or like a forest green, something else than these just very tonal kind of like this palette. I would love to have something else in there, but I couldn't find a mini from them that really spoke to me. So we kind of decided that because Marla went with a dark like chocolatey brown as a main color, which is also gorgeous, that we would swap out about like 20 grams as well. So she could use the white as like a more stark contrast, because for her, this won't have a ton of contrast. And then for me, having a bit more of a starker contrast would also be nice. So I just think we might swap a bit of yarn. We have 450 meters times 3, so about 1,300 of this main color, and then 625 meters of this. This is a lot thinner, so this is a light fingering, and the pattern, as far as I remember, was calling for sport weight yarn. So we will kind of have to rewrite it, or just adjust the size that we make to the gauge that we get. So we might make a bigger size garment with the gauge that we're getting. But yeah, I really love this. Haven't shared it. I've had it for about a month now. And since my friend unfortunately decided to move away because she and her partner are moving in together, and he got a job in the city that they're moving to. Fortunately, it's not too far away, but we thought that it might be very nice to have like a friendship sweater that we could put on whenever we miss each other. So yeah, we'll probably cast that on kind of in the beginning of the next year. We'll have to see whenever it does fit into my very full schedule of knitting projects, but we'll know that we'll eventually have this project to look forward to. One last thing that I just got yesterday is this wool and forest yarn. This is also by a German hand dyer, so I'm kind of representing German hand dyers in this episode. Obviously, I am from Germany. I work with a ton of European yarns, but then also some American, English, just international yarns in general. But this is a new brand that we're carrying at my local yarn shop. I've heard about them through my friend Lydia, who tried out one of their most wonderful colors, which is called, I think, Falling Leaves. It's a beautiful like white beige background with fun autumnally colored speckles. Unfortunately, I mean not unfortunately, but I already have about 7 skeins, I feel like, in my stash that have a similar look. Obviously, this is very similar, and at one point I put all of the ones that I hadn't worked with like right next to one another, and I have at least 3 to 5 more skeins that are light background with colorful speckles. So I didn't get that one. We just received this shipment from the dyer Alexandra in the mail yesterday at the shop, and so I did all the photography, uploaded it, talked about it on Instagram, put it up in our online shop. If you want to check it out, we have an online shop for the shop. But then I bought this like at the end of the night. I couldn't decide which one to get, but I decided on Wilder Wein, which is in English is called wild wine, so not very difficult to understand, and it's very much similarly dyed to my Strickwerk skein. So I'm gonna show you this one first. So it's a very rich, like dark purpley, burgundy, orangey, browny skein, and yeah, very much fitting to the name that she gave it. And yeah, I could see myself maybe knitting this into some socks for Hannes, maybe making some socks for my mom with this. And it's just called a sock, and it's a 25 nylon, and it's a 75 superwash merino and 25 nylon. It's also a 425 meter per 100 gram skein, so they probably are the same base. I mean, hand dyers all receive their yarn from like bigger like yarn companies, right? Or like they have suppliers. So I could see this being the exact same base pretty much. So yeah, that's quite nice. Obviously I do receive a 20% discount for working at the shop, but otherwise I just paid for this with my own money. I just want to be clear about all these things always. I didn't see, I forgot to mention, but like I said, I'm going to put it in on the top. I didn't pay for the sniff nook that I'm using for the sweater, the 6 of Daisies cardigan. I was gifted this by my boss for the knit along, obviously because I'm making content with it for the shop. I usually try and kind of keep these things very separate. This is my one, like this is my job, and this is my other kind of side gig doing YouTube. So I pay with my own money whenever I buy stuff there, but she has in the past gifted me a few things just like on a personal note to say thanks for my work at the shop. But then also if I do make samples for the shop, I don't pay for the yarn, but then I always mention that so you will know. So the sniff nook for the 6 of Daisies cardigan was gifted by Strickverliebt to participate in the cow. Like I said, because I am taking part in that, and it's like during work hours, you know. I hope that is clear. So yeah, these are all my acquisitions. Some sock yarn and a sweater quantity of yarn is what I got these last couple of months. Obviously I had my Rhineberg acquisitions. I showed them to you in the designated video. That's the last video I put up, and that's all about the knitting so far. I haven't done a ton of spinning, I haven't done any sewing, but I really would like to get into it again. But just yeah, haven't done a ton of anything else, just been very focused on my knitting. So that's about all of the things knitting so far. I'm going to move into miscellaneous, which is what I'm going to call this last part of the video from now on. It'll include things like media recommendations, books, shows or films I've watched, recommendations I have for other podcasts, things like that, more life stuff. So if you are not into that kind of thing, I'm happy again to see you in the next podcast episode. But for everyone who is interested, I wanted to share a few media things that have been on my mind recently and that I have consumed in the last couple of months, actually, like in the last 1 or 2 months. I have finished the book Yellow Face. I've talked a bit about it. I actually did a post on it over on my Instagram. It really got me back into reading more physical books. I had a spell there of just listening to a lot of audiobooks. And I now have acquired over time and like from, I would say, like starting last year's Christmas, but then also some thrift shop finds and some new books that I got gifted or I have bought for myself. There is now a stash of books, like a little stack of them next to my bed on my bedside table, and I really would like to get through a lot more of them. So like Yellow Face, it really was quite a page turner. I would recommend reading it. And the one I'm reading right now is A Stash of One's Own by Clara Parks. Obviously, the reference to Virginia Woolf isn't lost on anyone, I would think. And I have marked so many of these pages, but because there's just so many, I don't know, so many great essays in here. There's just a lot of different people talking about their stash. And I, like I said, have marked so many pages. I want to read one part to you here now. A yarn stash is a declaration of self-esteem. It is Virginia Woolf's room of one's own, a significant financial stake in the ground that says my passion is worth well. And then a bit further down, Parks writes, this book is a carefully selected collection of stories, statistics, tips, and manifestos on the subject of stash, specifically, but not always, the knitter's reputation of acquiring large quantity of yarn and storing them away for future use. The writers celebrate the meaning we attribute to yarn, the stories we like to keep, and the place it holds in our homes and in our lives. And that's exactly what it is. I've, like I said, made so many marks in this book already. They have made me giggle. They have made me kind of think about, like, rethink some of my practices, but then also they have really given me some moments of just having a smile on my face and enjoying a pretty slim book that is very much like centered around the reality of being a knitter in this world. And we don't get a lot of literature like that. So I've just very much been enjoying this. I'm about halfway through. Next up, I'm going to read about Seunghee, Fear Not. I will maybe do a bit more of a more in-depth review in my next episode whenever I finish this, and share some more passages that have really spoken to me. Maybe I won't. If you are interested by this, let me know. This was acquired at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival at the in like the book area, in the book barn. And so far it's been worth every cent that I paid for it. Yeah, just really nice to read something like this. I'm going to share more about the books that I'm reading as I'm reading through them. My partner has also gifted me the newest Liv Strömquist comic, which is a series of feminist comics. He's been giving them to me for like my birthdays and getting my bachelor's, getting my master's. So within the span of the last almost 6 years, he has been giving me all of them for special occasions, and we really love to read them, like the two of us together. So that's what I'm also currently reading. I wanted to talk very briefly about the things that I've been watching. Obviously, Rings of Power, the last couple of episodes of season 2, I've kind of briefly mentioned. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and have shared a few of my thoughts about these last 2 seasons, some of the disappointment that I've had from watching them, being a big Tolkien fan. I'm not going to go into any more detail on this right here because, like I said, it's been a bit. I think they've tried to improve some of the things that had been criticized for season 1. But yeah, I think it would go in a bit too much detail. I think the episode is long enough already. But I think if you do love Tolkien, if you do love the world of Middle Earth, I think it's worth watching it, even if you might be rethinking and like slapping your forehead during the thing, like some of the character development, some of the storytelling. Some of it was sloppy, like we don't have to talk twice about that, but for me it was still worth watching. I looked forward to doing it every week with my partner. I loved talking about it afterwards. and kind of criticizing it for what we didn't like about it, but then also talking about what it made us like remember of the books and the movies. Then I did also look forward to watching season 3 of Heartstopper very, very much before it came out, and I kind of binged it within like a 2-day span. I am so happy that this generation of young queer people has representation like this. When I was growing up, I didn't feel like I had major like kind of figures in the media that I consumed that were kind of showing me it's okay to be a bi woman in this world, or like a bi girl. So I'm very happy for other queer people to have, especially young people, to have representation like this. I think it's very important, and I think it's a very cute series. So I enjoyed watching that quite a bit. And then lastly, obviously, I'm still rewatching Gilmore Girls. It's one of my comfort shows. It just makes me feel very cozy. And since I've watched it so many times already, there isn't a lot of new things happening. I always know kind of what to expect, and that is comforting to me. Well, I hope that I remembered to kind of cover everything that I wanted to talk to you all about. I enjoyed filming again so much. I will be trying and get this thing edited up until the end of the week, so you'll get to see it at the beginning of next week again. I hope you're having a great November. I hope you're finding a lot of comfort and creativity in your making. I hope you're getting loads of knitting time. If you did like this video, please don't forget to like. It means a lot to me. I always try and remember to like people's content because I know what a difference it makes. I even go back, or I click the like before I watch my favorite creators' content, so I don't forget. And yeah, it just means a lot if you do that, if you're supporting this podcast. And I hope that I'll get to see you again in the next episode and in Vlogmas. I'm looking forward to that very much already. Let me know what you've been working on while you were listening. Yeah, let's chat somewhere in the comments if you want to. And I hope you're taking care of yourselves and those around you. And like I said, I hope you're getting loads of making time. Okay? See you in the next one. Bye.